The demand. The message came at noon, Martian Standard Time. Across every human settlement, from the domed cities of Luna to the floating ports of Saturn's rings, the broadcast hijacked every screen. No news anchors, no commentary, just the image of a vast alien warship drifting against the black. Its hull was a living thing, a shifting carapace of bone and metal, glowing faintly as if something inside it breathed. Then the face appeared. Vakar, Supreme Lord of the Sserath Dominion. 8 feet of scaled, armor-plated authority, eyes like molten amber. His voice was a rumble that carried the weight of inevitability. Humans, you will surrender your worlds. You will dismantle your fleets. You will bow, or you will burn. We have extinguished greater empires than yours. You will not be the exception. The image shifted. Scenes of destruction flashed in quick succession. Cities crumbling under orbital bombardment. Starships splitting apart in the void. Worlds shattering into lifeless rock. Then, silence. The broadcast cut. In the crimson-hazed sky over Mars, the alien fleet hung like an executioner's axe. Ambassador Elise Rourke stood in the center of the Mars diplomatic forum, surrounded by the highest-ranking officials humanity could muster on short notice. The chamber was an architectural marvel, glass walls framing the rust-red plains, polished metal floors reflecting the cold light from above. But all that beauty felt like a coffin now. Governor Haroun slammed a hand on the table. We don't have the forces for this. Earth's fleet is spread thin across the colonies. If the Dominion attacks, we're finished in a week. General Kalen of the UN Defense Command grunted. Not a week. 3 days, if their fleet composition matches what our intel suggests. Elise didn't speak. Not yet. She studied the faces, panic disguised as reason, pride disguising fear. She'd seen it before, in trade disputes and border negotiations, but this was different. This wasn't a matter of tariffs or mining rights. This was annihilation knocking on the door. A younger official, her voice trembling, asked, "Should we answer them? Try to stall." Governor Haroun shook his head. They didn't come here to negotiate. They came to dictate terms. That was when Elise finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but it cut through the room like a scalpel. Dictators can be made to bargain, if you know where to push. The governor turned to her sharply. And where exactly do you think you can push a fleet that could glass Mars before you finish your sentence? Elise didn't flinch. They want more than just our resources. They want submission. That means they care about how this looks, to us, to their own people, to the rest of the galaxy. And if they care about appearances, she leaned forward, eyes locked on Haroun, then they can be made to care about options. Kalen scoffed. Options? You think they'll take anything less than full surrender? I think they'll take whatever makes them look victorious, Elise said. If that can be something other than destroying us, we have leverage. The room fell into uneasy silence. Outside the glass, the Martian horizon burned with the orange light of dusk. The alien fleet hung motionless, waiting. Governor Haroun rubbed his temples. You're suggesting we talk to them. I'm suggesting we give them a choice, Elise said. One that forces them to weigh the cost of war against the cost of compromise. Kalen leaned forward. And if they decide the cost of war is worth it? Then at least we'll have bought time, Elise replied. Enough for our fleets to regroup. Enough for our colonies to prepare. The governor hesitated. If you go, you'll be walking into their stronghold. You might not come back. She smiled faintly. If I don't go, none of us will. An hour later, Elise stood alone in the communications chamber. The Dominion's flagship loomed on the main display, its hull casting shadows across the Martian orbit. The transmission line was open. She looked directly into the lens, knowing Vakar would see her face. I am Ambassador Elise Rourke of the United Terran Alliance, she said evenly. We acknowledge your presence. We will hear your demands in person. A pause, just long enough to sharpen the words that followed. But understand this, when we meet, you will have a choice. She ended the transmission without waiting for a reply. Above Mars, the alien fleet began to shift. The largest of the ships detached from formation and slowly turned its prow toward the red planet. The Sserath Dominion was coming to hear what a single human had to say. The negotiation. The Sserath flagship was less a ship and more a continent drifting in the void. Its hull bristled with jagged towers and glowing vents that pulsed like the breath of a leviathan. Elise's shuttle, a sleek dart of silver, looked like a child's toy as it approached the docking bay. Inside, the air was thicker, hotter, laced with a faint tang of metal and something almost organic, like the breath of a reptile. The gravity shifted subtly under her boots, as though the ship itself was testing her balance. 2 Sserath warriors met her at the airlock. Their armor was black and ridged, their shoulders crowned with curved bone spines. They did not speak. One gestured with a clawed hand, the other took her diplomatic case, examining it with a predator's patience before returning it. They led her through a corridor that seemed designed to intimidate. The walls were lined with carvings, battles frozen in bone relief, depicting the Sserath-crushing alien armies under Claw and Fong. The lighting came from slits in the floor, casting long shadows that made the warriors look like creatures from another age. When they entered the audience chamber, she immediately knew Vakar had chosen the space for effect. It was vast, with a ceiling lost in shadow and a circular platform in the center. Around the edges, Sserath officers stood on raised tiers, their gazes unblinking. At the far side, on a throne grown from the floor itself, sat Vakar. His armor was not metal but a living carapace, dark as obsidian, patterned with scars that looked deliberate. He regarded her with slow precision, his eyes narrowing. "You are the voice of your kind." His words rolled like distant thunder. "I am a voice," Elise said. "One you should hear before you decide your next move." A ripple of hisses from the surrounding tiers. Among the Sserath, such directness from a lesser species was nearly an insult. Elise had counted on that. It meant they were listening. Vakar rose. He was taller than she expected, easily twice her height, his movements deliberate and predatory. "You were given a choice already. Surrender or die." She met his gaze without flinching. "No. You gave us an ultimatum. I'm here to give you a choice." More hisses. The chamber seemed to tighten around her. Vakar descended from his throne, each step a low vibration in the platform. He stopped a few meters away, studying her like one might examine an unfamiliar weapon. "Explain." Elise let the silence stretch just long enough to signal she was not afraid. Then she spoke, her voice carrying across the chamber. "If you choose war, you'll win, but you'll bleed. You'll lose ships. You'll lose warriors. And every loss will make your enemies watch more closely. If humanity falls, others will rise knowing you are not invincible." She let the words hang. In the Sserath culture, weakness was blood in the water, but so was needless loss. "Your second choice," she continued, "is the trial of worth. One contest, between leaders. No fleets. No mass slaughter. Winner claims the terms they desire. Loser accepts them." The reaction was immediate. Deep, guttural laughter from some tiers, angry hisses from others. The Sserath saw her challenge as both absurd and audacious. Vakar's gaze sharpened. "You know nothing of our trials. They are not games for prey animals." "I know enough," Elise said. "Enough to see that refusing a challenge from an equal before your warriors would raise questions about your strength." The shift in the room was subtle, but she felt it, predators scenting something unexpected. Vakar's jaw flexed. "And if I accept this trial?" "Then you risk only yourself," Elise said. "And if you win, humanity kneels without firing a shot. No losses. No risk to your fleets. Your name carved in history as the one who conquered us in single contest." The chamber was silent now. Even the warriors in the shadows seemed to lean in. Finally, Vakar's teeth bared in something that was not quite a smile. "You presume much, human. But presumption is a kind of courage. We will speak again at first cycle. If you survive our proving grounds, then perhaps you are worth challenging." He turned, his back to her, a dismissal, but also an unspoken acknowledgment that she had not yet been crushed. The guards led her out. Elise walked with measured steps, her mind already moving 3 moves ahead. The trial of worth was no mere gamble, it was an opening. And if she played it right, it could be humanity's salvation. The trial of worth. The proving grounds lay at the heart of the Sserath flagship, a hollowed sphere nearly a kilometer wide, its walls crawling with motion. Observation tiers circled the interior, packed with warriors eager to witness the humiliation of a human. Elise stood on a narrow platform suspended over nothing. Across from her, Vakar waited on his own platform, armor glinting in the dim light. The floor between them was a shifting labyrinth, plates of metal that moved and rotated, exposing sudden drops into darkness. A gong-like note reverberated through the sphere. Vakar's voice carried to every tier. 3 trials. Strength. Strategy. Wisdom. Fail any, and you fail all. Elise kept her breathing steady. She knew she couldn't match him physically, so she wouldn't try. She'd make him play her game. Trial 1. Strength. A bridge extended from each platform, meeting in the center. The first test was brutally simple. Cross while the bridge shifted and fought against gravity. Vakar surged forward, his mass carrying him over tilting plates with predatory grace. Elise didn't run. She waited for the first tilt, then moved quickly while the plates were still swinging back into place. She let him take the harder, unstable path, using his own weight to predict which sections would rock in her favor. By the halfway point, she was still several paces behind, but her footing was solid. When a plate ahead of him snapped free and dropped into the void, Vakar had to leap wide, slowing him. Elise darted forward, using the momentum of a swinging plate to carry her across the final gap. She reached the center seconds after him, not first, but not crushed. The crowd hissed in irritation. For a human to finish was insult enough. Trial 2. Strategy. The bridge retracted, and the floor beneath them reshaped into a holographic war table. Dozens of miniature fleets lit up, each representing territory contested in some fictional sector. "This is a war of conquest," the Sserath Arbiter announced. "Command your forces. Last fleet standing wins." Vakar attacked immediately, his holographic ships smashing through sectors with brute force. Elise ignored him, sending smaller groups to flank undefended routes, feinting at one target before striking another. She let him take star systems that had no real value, drawing his attention while she captured resource hubs. By mid-game, his fleets were larger, but half of them were stranded without fuel or supply lines. Elise pressed the advantage, hitting his reserves until the system beeped, "Victory." The Sserath tiers erupted in mixed shouts, some impressed, others offended. Vakar studied her with something new in his gaze. "You fight like prey," he said. "Fast, unpredictable. But the strike lands before the predator understands it's been cut." "Sometimes survival means teaching the predator a lesson," Elise replied. Trial 3. Wisdom. The war table dissolved. In its place, a single stone pedestal rose between them, holding a carved sphere etched with flowing patterns. The Arbiter spoke again. "The final test. Interpret the tale of Quran. Speak its truth." Elise had studied Sserath myths the night before. Quran was a legendary warrior who refused to slay a rival when given the chance, claiming, "A defeated enemy kept alive is a weapon yet to be wielded." Vakar stepped forward first. "The tale teaches mercy is weakness. Quran's rival later betrayed him, proving strength lies only in ending your enemies." Elise stepped up, voice calm. "The tale teaches the opposite. Quran spared his rival, knowing that a living enemy is also a living example, proof to others that he could win without killing. His rival's later betrayal? That was the cost Quran accepted to hold greater power for longer." A murmur rippled through the tiers. Among the Sserath, reinterpreting a core myth was bold, dangerous, even. But Elise saw some warriors exchange thoughtful glances. Vakar's eyes narrowed. "You twist the story to serve your weakness." "I adapt it to serve my survival," Elise countered. "That's the difference between your people and mine. We change when the world demands it. And that's why killing us would be your greatest mistake." Silence stretched. Then the gong sounded again. The Arbiter's voice rang out, "All trials completed." Vakar stood before her. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, to the shock of the tiers, he extended one clawed hand in the Sserath gesture of acknowledgement. "You are not prey," he said. Elise took the offered hand, meeting his gaze. "And you are not my conqueror. Not yet." The crowd roared, not all in anger. Some in something like respect. The choice was now his. And Elise had made sure it would not be simple. The choice. The chamber was silent after the trial, the echoes of the crowd fading like the last ripples of a storm. Elise stood on the platform, sweat cooling on her skin, her muscles trembling, not just from exertion, but from the knowledge that she had pushed the Sserath leader to a precipice. Vakar turned toward the tiers of warriors, his towering silhouette cutting a sharp line against the dim glow of the proving grounds. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of a verdict. This human has completed the trial of worth. By our law, she stands as one whose life cannot be taken without dishonor. Gasps and hisses rippled through the chamber. The law was ancient, older than the Dominion itself. To acknowledge a rival as beyond slaughter was rare, reserved for only the most dangerous or respected adversaries. Vakar's gaze locked with Elise's. We came to demand surrender. But this, he gestured to the proving grounds, the trials, the audience, has shown another path. He raised a clawed hand, curling it into a fist. The Dominion will not destroy humanity. Instead, we will bind it. The tears erupted, some in approval, others in outrage. Elise stepped forward, her voice steady. Bind us how? An accord, Vakar said. Mutual defense. Trade in resources and technology. And in return, you will teach us your unpredictable ways of war. Elise didn't smile, though the corners of her mouth twitched. You want an ally, not a vassal. Why? Vakar's eyes narrowed, but there was no anger, only calculation. Because an enemy that cannot be predicted is dangerous. An ally that cannot be predicted is priceless. The pact. 2 hours later, Elise sat at a massive obsidian table in a smaller, more private chamber. Her diplomatic case was open, recording every word. Across from her, Vakar pressed his claw to a glowing tablet, marking the Dominion's acceptance. The terms were simple: no hostilities between humanity and the Sserath for 50 cycles, immediate trade of strategic resources, joint patrols in disputed sectors. The trial of worth would be recorded and broadcast across both empires, framed as a victory for the Dominion, Vakar's personal conquest of humanity's champion. It was a political fiction, but Elise understood the value. If the Sserath public saw their leader as the architect of the accord, they'd defend it as his triumph, not her negotiation. When the final seal was set, Vakar leaned back. If your kind fails to honor this pact, I will return. And there will be no more trials. Elise met his gaze. Then we'd better make sure you don't regret this decision. The return to Mars. The shuttle ride back to Mars felt different. The alien flagship still loomed in orbit, but its weapons were no longer aimed at the planet. Instead, 2 Sserath escorts flanked her vessel like ceremonial guards. When she stepped onto the landing deck, the waiting officials erupted into relieved applause. Governor Haroun strode forward, disbelief written across his face. You negotiated with them? We came to terms, Elise said, handing him the datapad with the signed accord. You can stop planning the evacuation. Kalen took the pad, scanning the details, his eyes widening. A defense pact? With them. Think of it as teaching a wolf to guard the sheep, Elise replied. As long as it gets fed, it won't bite. Ripples in the stars. In the weeks that followed, the news feeds called her the diplomat who made aliens blink. Footage of the trial was dissected by military analysts, praised by some, mocked by others. On the outer colonies, recruitment surged, not for war, but for diplomacy. People had seen proof that words could win what weapons might lose. Among the Sserath, the reactions were more complex. Some hailed the accord as proof of Dominion dominance. Others whispered that Vakar had made a dangerous gamble, letting humans live and walk freely among their kind. Elise received a single, encrypted transmission from the flagship. You gave me a choice. I took it. Now see if you can make me glad I did. She didn't know whether it was a threat or an invitation. Possibly both. Epilogue. Months later, standing on the observation deck of Earth's orbital council station, Elise watched a Sserath patrol cruiser dock alongside a Terran carrier. The sight would have been unthinkable a year ago. They came demanding our surrender, she murmured to herself. We gave them a choice. And they chose us. Somewhere deep in her chest, beneath the relief, a sharper thought lingered, choices could be remade. And when that day came, she intended to be ready. That closes the arc: clear stakes, cultural interplay, HFY ingenuity, and a satisfying but open-ended resolution.